Hello, and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. The Dreadnought Improvement Project Extended 1.3.4. Not the great game, as it says here. So the latest version just came out a couple days ago of DIP. And I have rolled up a... these are just testing campaigns. This is not going to be my... my next campaign just yet. There's a slight problem with the game crashing quite often after having played a battle, which I had that problem at the start of my Ottoman campaign too, but it was fixed with a hot fix, and I know Munro and his team are working on something for this as well. It is playable though. So, not starting the campaign just yet, but we're going to take a look at a couple neat new features in 1.3.4, and then we're going to design some share design ships for that next campaign, just so we have some challenging designs to fight. First off, with the DIP extended, we got the basic nations, right? Britain, France, Germany, US, Russia, Italy, Austria-Hungary, Empire of Japan, Spain, China. And then we have the extended nations. Some of these are in the Great Game as well. Portugal, Netherlands, Ottoman Empire, which in the Great Game, my previous campaign, the Ottoman campaign, I wasn't actually playing the Ottoman Empire, I was playing the Byzantine Empire, just changed the name and the flag. But here you have actually the Ottoman Empire and also Greece as two separate playable nations, not bundled together. But we also have Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Greece, as I said, Belgium, Denmark, instead of Scandinavia as one unified empire, we have Denmark, Norway, and Sweden as three separate nations. Which, yes, they are smaller than Scandinavia is in the Great Game, so these will be very challenging to fight. Yeah, notice here, high difficulty nation. Also Korea, and yeah, Korea. So lots of new nations, and in DIP Extended, you're in the Great Game, you didn't have any minor nations at all, because you just had a lot of major nations that had gobbled up what would normally be minor nations in the base game. In Extended, you do have the minor nations there, so you can get them as your allies and sell them ships, which is something I was missing in the last two campaigns I played in the Great Game. Custom battles. Here we have something nice. You can have them set to pre-generated, so you don't have to wait for the AI to design a ship that you can have to fight. And also, something I've been missing forever in this game that was added now. You can have multiple ship classes of the same ship type. So instead of 9 battleships, all of the same type, all of the same class, I can have 3 of each, which is neat. And another thing that is also neat is that if you design a ship for a custom battle, it also gets saved to your share designs. So that's very cool. Speaking of, let's go design something. I'm not going to be playing as Britain, so let's design something British. We are starting in 1890, so actually, before we go 1890, let's 1950. Let's do something for the US maybe, just to show off some small changes that I've done personally to the already modded game files, just to show off what we're going to be dealing with in the campaign. Let's do a regular modern battleship. Also, one more thing that was very, very nice. If you recall, in the previous campaigns, unsinkable ships, which had a floatability of 149.5 or greater, which granted them minus 100% flooding chance, that was something that popped up quite often. So, but here, floatability is capped at 140. You can't get more than minus 90% flooding chance. And I've checked a bunch of different hulls. This is the actual cap, which is great, because that means that problem has been effectively solved. Now let's design something decent. Let's see. SD for share design. So maybe it will pop up in the campaign. Let's do a, not the best tower, but like the second best. Can we pop this there? Yeah. Also, allegedly, it's... Yes, you can flip funnels now. If you want to, for whatever reason. It can now be flipped. Even the secondary tower. Which was possible before, but it was a lot more finicky. Can you flip the main tower? If for whatever reason you want to flip the main tower, you can do so. Let's just plop down a couple funnels. So, US battleship. It would have to be 16-inch guns, right? Almost like there's no other option. Well, there is, but it just doesn't feel right. Let's do it kind of a Montana type. It's a bit short and stubby, but that's just the way this hull is in this game. Move this slightly further back. Does this rotate now? No problem. Yeah, so it does need some space. It's a turret. That's about fine. Nice. So let's go with oil and let's see how the engine balance is nowadays. Engine efficiency not too good with these funnels. Mega funnel 5. Let's just go for the biggest one. It's not a huge difference in funnel cap, so. And I don't suppose we can slim down the hull too much. Secondary tower 6. How about 5? Or is that too small? That seems too small. That seems the same size. I'm just looking at these like built-in square bar bets, how far they stick out. And that seems like it should be possible to slim down the ship by a couple percent. Like so. Just to make it look a little bit sleeker. Yeah, 48,191 tons. If we change that for turbo electric, 25,000 kilometer range, 2.8 million. But quite a bit heavier and more expensive. Range is the same. Gear turbines 2 and turbo electrics. Like the difference in cost isn't too great. There's a weight difference, but it's again not too drastic. So it's gonna go turbo electric. Aux 4 being a little bit lighter. Yeah, so changes that I've done so far. I've slightly reduced the armor strength of Modern 1 and 2 and also reduced the resistance bonus. So, like, it's still better than what comes before, but it's not like a huge gap. So you don't have a massive advantage over the AI because when the AI designs a ship, or rather when the pre-designed ships were designed, the AI just picked one of the available options and doesn't really think about it consciously because it's just the AI, right? Any option is as good as another. So by being a human with more than 2 brain cells and quickly realizing that, oh, the best option is the best one, you kind of have a pretty big advantage over the AI. So I wanted to reduce that just a little bit. So that's one of the things I did. One thing that I was trying to do, which I found very hard, I couldn't figure out how to do it. But then I read the patch notes for the latest version of DIP, and it seems Brother Monroe had figured out how to do it, and it's done. It's not reflected here in the tooltips in the ship designer, but the inner citadel layers no longer work as before. So according to the text here, for the first layer of the citadel, a shell loses 50% of its penetrating power when hitting this layer. But let's just make those a bit rounder numbers so I don't have to do so much math. So to go through 8 inches of the first layer, you would need 16 inches of penetration. But you would already have to have that to even get to the first layer, so this was kind of worthless. Now in DIP, instead of being twice as effective, this layer is 2.2 times as effective. Hang on, let me just check the patch notes and make sure that I'm not lying to you. Yeah, the second layer is now 2.2 times as effective as its actual thickness instead of just 2 times. So 8 inches of first inner belt armor would equal 17.6 inches. So you now actually have some extra protection from the first layer. Does that mean it's worth it over just packing on more weight on the actual main belt itself? Maybe or maybe not. But if you're in a light cruiser or something where the maximum main belt thickness is limited, you know, it might be worth it. But as always, the second and third layer are where it's at. Now, the second layer, according to the tooltip here, the shell would have lost 75% of its penetrating power, meaning that this is 4 times as effective as its line of sight thickness. Now, in dip, this is 3 times as effective. So, let's see, 6.4, 19.2 inches. So now you're getting some actual improvement over the main belt itself. Even if it's only 3 times instead of 4 times as it was. And the third layer is now 4 times as effective as its line of sight thickness instead of 10 times, which it was. This was why late game ships in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts felt so incredibly tanky, unless you were playing vanilla and just killed everything with partial penetrations. So you can actually go through this now. 5.1 times 4, that's 20.4. You can get that kind of penetration at not super long range, but at least like decent combat range if you gear up for it. So you're no longer going to have heavy cruisers and even some light cruisers being almost immune to getting citadel penetration by battleship guns. So I think that's a neat change. That was something I was trying to do. Maybe 5 times instead of 4 on the third layer, if it was up to me, but I think that works. The solution I was trying to come up with was just removing Citadel 5 altogether, so you didn't have a third layer on anything, but and I did figure out how to do that, but that would mean that all the pre-designed ships couldn't be used, which and playing this without pre-designed ships, that would make loading times just horrible, so that was out of the question. But I did do some balancing to the citadels, because again, the AI will pick any of these 3 in the late game. So instead of making Citadel 4 just, which used to be just basically a downgrade over Citadel 3, you'd get 1 more % of resistance, but the ammo detonation chance was actually worse at 30%. I've bumped that up to 40, so at least it's equal to Citadel 3, and I've given it the 10% resistance buff that you used to get from Citadel 5 in dip. In vanilla, I think it gets 15. While Citadel 5 gets bumped down to 7.5%, which was what this used to have. But it gives you much better flash fire and ammo detonation protection and engine damage protection than the other ones. So which of these 2 is like best? That now kind of depends on your ship. So that's one change I did. And I also slightly modified torpedoes. I'm not going to give this ship torpedoes, but one thing I found in my previous campaigns is that anything other than oxygen torpedoes were just not worth taking. Because late game oxygen torpedoes would be almost as fast as fast torpedoes, but obviously having much more range and being harder to spot. So now, let's see, base range here, with standard torp, 17.7 kilometers, and you have a speed of 41 knots standard. Fast, 12.4 kilometers, not bad, and 55.2 knots. That's very speedy. Electrics, I didn't really change them too much, so they're slower, but they're almost invisible. And 14 kilometers is, again, not bad. Oxytorps still have the best range, but they're now actually slightly slower than the standards, 39 knots. which I'm not sure if that's even like historically accurate or anything. They do some more damage though. 49.7 thousand. 53,000. Not a huge damage buff. But at least, you know, standard torps now not totally useless. They do have at least one advantage over the oxygen torps, being slightly faster and less prone to detonation, but they always were. And fast torps actually have a place now because I made them slightly faster and the oxygen torps slightly slower. So that's a help to the AI because they're now like they're not gonna have a 3 out of 4 chance to pick the wrong option, and it's a slight nerf to me. Because my correct option will not be like so obviously correct compared to everything else. If that makes sense. But anyway, let's keep building this ship. This is going to be used by the AI. And as such, I don't think it needs increased ammunition. Because the AI ships don't tend to last that long. It's going to have super heavy shells, of course, being an American battleship. That's still decent range. And one more thing I did. Brown powder and also black powder had received a significant nerf. So they were very, very explosive in terms of like flash fire explosion chance and not very powerful. I just slightly reduced those penetration buffs. Especially black powder had like a minus 30% shell penetration, which means that you're not going to be penning anything in the early game. Slightly reduced that, made them slightly less explosive. Made tube powder 2 and 3 slightly less super safe than they already are. So instead of 25% or minus 25% for tube 1, minus, I think it was 35 for tube 2, and then minus 45 for tube 3. Slightly reduce those a little bit. Just so you're not completely immune to flash fires. Well, that's still a very low chance though. So I think those are the only changes I did that we're going to be playing with in the upcoming campaign. Hopefully next week, if they can figure out the problems with the game crashing. Now let's go on to secondary weapons. Five-inch guns, of course. 5-inch 55, actually. Well, that's fine. We can roll with that. And then the Bofors. We're gonna put any so 3-inch, that would be what 76 millimeter. Gonna put some of those up here too. There's not anywhere where they're gonna be blocking the main guns. Are these actually blocking? No, they're not. How about that one? No, that's fine. So 2-inch guns, let's make those 40 millimeters. Gonna be packing on some extra armor on those turrets. And seeing as deck hits are now back in the game, let's make sure the deck is somewhat protected as well. Are we gonna go overweight now? Yes, actually. 3.1 times 4. Let's make that 12 inches effective. Is that more than we need? Not, yeah, maybe. It only shows me up to 35,000 meters. And hang on. Armor quality plus 185. So we're not at 200% because I reduced that. Close enough. Yeah, we can score deck penetrations on ourselves. But just barely, yet only at absolute maximum range. So it's not too bad. Now, what can we reduce here? Double bottom instead of triple, I guess. Yeah. Let's put some more armor on the fore and aft belts. There we go. And the conning tower. Yeah, it's good enough. Wyoming, SD. Saved. Now, 1890s. Because that's when we're gonna start. So let's build some ships for the 1890s, and then after having played through a couple years in the campaign, let's go back and make something for 1895. So that means when that campaign starts, we're gonna have a break every couple of weeks and just design some ships. And I'm also gonna download like a ship design pack from Monroe's Discord that other people are making. Let's start with the battleships. What's the max size? 8,500. It's not a pretty hull. 16.7 knots. And like the actual crew training it's gonna have in campaign will be based on whatever training level the AI has it set to. We got 2 front tower 6s. This one is bigger and better. Oh, hold on. 272 tons. 481. This is more tower spotting range. 5 base accuracy, 8 long range. 7 base, 8.5 long range. It's the most accurate one, and it's not too heavy either. So let's go with that one. Secondary tower is actually being... Okay, you got like built-in barbette things. It's gonna be hard to fit on this tiny hull. Like so. Main guns, let's just go... 12. Okay, they can fit up here. These can fit down there. There it fits. Backwards. The funnel cap is like really bad no matter what. So that's... I guess it's not possible to have it more integrated into... Can I squeeze one more in? Let's pick a different secondary tower. And let's have it flipped around. No? Yes. Sure. Oh, I saw you fit there. Just barely. It was a pixel where it fit. There it is. 35% funnel capacity. That is very 1890s. The range is poop. It's gonna run out of fuel. But that's how it is in 1890. We can actually pick a citadel. No targeting equipment. Yeah, there are not a lot of options in 1890. How bad is the flash fire chance now? It's 71.8%. With light and reduced 57.8. Give it standard shells, 67. That's terrible. But at least we can fit 6-inch guns on top of the main gun turrets. That's something at least. Yeah. It's a boat. Let's give it some decent armor. Except really on the decks, because it's 1890 and we're not going to be worrying about plunging fire. Well, they can actually have cunning tower armor. Like so, I guess. Almost at the weight limit. 100-second reload on these terrible 12-inch guns. Let's add some torps. What's this weird, like, mounting point there that I couldn't actually put anything on? North Carolina. Not pretty. Let's design one for Britain as well. They have some neat hulls. This one is cool. And we can actually max it out. 15. Let's just stick it at 15. All the towers are junk. Let's go 11s as main guns. Do they actually work? Yeah, they do. Can even spin 360. Although the actual firing arcs aren't very impressive. Six funnels, and the engine efficiency is still not good. Perfect. At least have it not run out of fuel immediately. Now, casemates and secondaries, this is where I think this hull is going to shine. Yep. 6-inch guns, of course. Maybe put 6-inch guns as secondaries somewhere as well. No. 5s? Yes. Very much. Oh, you can't turn there. Can you now turn? Not really. So we're gonna move these there. Then just have them like alternate. That's gonna be too much, I think, placing them on top of there. But how about the 4-inch guns, which are much lighter and smaller? Yeah, we can put so many of them up there. We're gonna have to make some sacrifices to make this work. 2-inch guns? On the masts, of course. How about smaller casemates? Yes? Oh my god. There will have to be many sacrifices made to armor and other systems. But that's okay. That's okay. If we reduce ammo, we actually save a lot of weight. Yeah, armor. That's a thing. Might have to reduce range as well if we're going to have any armor on it. That's a lot of guns, though. That's an insane amount of secondary firepower. It's not going to hit much because the towers are bad. That's a lot of firepower. Ooh, we are almost at the... and all these guns are going to have armor too. This might not work. At least we're forced to save a lot of weight on the conning tower armor because 1.9 is all we can get. Now, the casemates are of course also going to need some armor. You know what? We're going to reduce the main belt down to a minimum of 9 inches. I'm thinking this boat will mainly be facing smaller ships. That's what all these tiny guns are for. Might actually want to reduce the main guns. Yes. 0.3 inches of top armor. Doesn't seem much. But deck pen in this era is not really there. What's my armor quality like? +3. Yeah, I don't even have compound armor. Put it down to 0. It barely clears 0.3 inches of deck pen at max range. So 0.4 should be sufficient. And they were overweight. But not by much. We can make this work, I think. It would need crew quarters. Just because there's so many secondary guns, it's going to be losing a lot of crew. Let's remove some of the forward-mounted ones. I don't want to remove the 6-inch guns, although it would be a more unified battery if I had them as 5-inch guns instead. I would have liked these to be 6-inch. There's not much I can reduce. I can, what's the flash fire challenge? 46.7%. 40%. There you go. Let's stick that one back on there even. Vanguard. Or when you really need to guard your van. Some bloke don't nick it. There you go. It's cool, in a way. So that was Experimental Ironclad 3. Now let's do a more fully fledged battleship. 13.5 is the max. 18 knots. That's almost speedy for the era. And we got cage masts. So 6.5 base accuracy, 9 long range. Or 2 base accuracy, 30 long range. Let's go full cage masts here. And we can stick some decent guns on it. Have this be the long range battleship, and it doesn't show me anything here. Are the towers bugged? That's weird. Is that because we don't have any like targeting equipment? Let's try again in 1892. Same hull. Now, slightly bigger. So they won't be able to build this at, like, pre-campaign, but just a couple years into it, they can start building these. Which is cool. So now we can have compound armor. I still want to go with the cage masts. And 12-inch guns. We still don't have those, like the stereoscopic and the rangefinders. Still don't have them available in 1892. When do you get them? Is it 93? Let me just check before I do anything else. No. Not in 93. If it's not in 94, we're just gonna build it in 1890 and not care. Well, it's still not there. So 1890 it is. And 13.5 was the maximum. Again, not many options. That should in theory make the ship design process quite speedy. One big funnel taking up all the space. Plus 20 funnel cap. 2 of those. That should also equal 20. This would be almost 30. If I can fit 2, I can. But just barely. At least they can kind of clip into the hull here. That kind of works, like aesthetically. 42% engine efficiency for 1890. That's not terrible, even. Not saying it's good, though. Right. Secondary armament. We can put a lot of 6-inch casemates on this. As you would on a pre-dreadnought. Anywhere to put these where they like actually fit? Kind of. Here. Looks silly. I was hoping you could put them on here. But that won't do. Centered? Yeah. Something to take care of torpedo boats and such. Here we go. The 2-inch guns have mounting points, but I've already put 4-inch guns there. Uh, 2 and 3-inch casemates not available for this hull. Well, let's do some armoring. At least we have some displacement to spare for that kind of stuff. Casemate armor. Yeah. 5 tons short. I think we'll leave it at that. Flashfire channels is very scary. But you'll have to go through the armor to make it explode. And it does have some armor. And it does have some firepower. I'd say that's good enough. For like a starting battleship in 1890s. You can't really get too far away from that flashfire chance. Even if I made brown and black powder a little bit less explosive, it's still very dangerous. Edgar. Armored cruiser. 6,000 tons. Yeah. Latest version of DIP. The starting armored cruiser hull size has been increased from 4,000 to 6,000 tons. So that's going to make it a little bit easier to build something decent. 18 knots on this one as well, so it can keep pace with the vanguards. And it also has these cage towers, which are really bad base accuracy, but the long range accuracy is not bad. Do you feel that's mostly an American thing though, the cage towers? So let's just stick with front tower instead. Main guns. Do we go 9s? Oh, yeah, this is one of those things where you think it fits, but it don't. There it fits. I didn't check on Vanguard if the turrets actually worked. I hope they do. Won't work. Not two of those. This won't work either. Can only get one. One has that like huge thing sticking out of it. Is there anything I can get two of on this hull? No. So we're just gonna go with one. And make it the biggest it can be. This is, that's bad. That's bad engine efficiency. But again, it's 1890. It's about what you can expect. And some turret armor. There, let's look at casemates. Only 4-inch. What about secondary guns? Can these even fit anywhere? Like, kind of? And one 3-inch. Excellent. There. Edgar. So, Britain, 1890, now has a battleship, 2 battleships, and an armored cruiser. And let's give them a light cruiser as well. So, that one or this one. 23 knots. This can move. Yeah, let's see if we can actually make it move 23 knots, or if that's gonna be difficult. It might. We're gonna have it flipped. All this rope work, hanging in loose air. Let's just have it the right way around. Actually, no, let's have it flipped. At least this one can have funnels on it. We're probably gonna need quite a few. Move that further back just for now. %70 funnel efficiency. For 1890, I'd say that's good. Let's have 4 funnels of the same type, if possible. Not those. How about the angled funnel? Almost. Almost have it here. Have to slightly compress. There we go. That's quite handsome. Main guns, 6s or 7s? Heh, 6, 7. I've heard that's the new funny number. It's no longer 69. There we go. 4 6-inch guns. In a rather silly layout, but that's 1890 for you. Might actually have to reduce that speed just a little bit. Range, not terrible for 1890s. Whoa. Nice. Okay. Do they actually like turn and mount it like that? Or do we just go with one? I think so. I think they wouldn't turn otherwise. At least now we can just go with 4 of the best funnels. Might even squeeze in 5. Yes. That's neat. I do like my funnels. We're gonna produce ammo because reload time is not that fast anyway. Armoring though. Ooh. And we're gonna have to reduce things, all right? To put any armor on it. 1.5 should be enough. We put 4 on the main belt. Barely. Let's stick with 3. $8 million so far, and we haven't even put any other guns on it. Like some 4-inch guns here and there. And torp launchers. Almost obligatory. Yeah, just gonna have to keep chipping away at this. Taking more and more stuff away from it. Making it worse and worse and worse just to hit that weight limit. Gotta save 52 tons. Flashfire challenge 16.8. Dropping the Citadel does work. It didn't really give me that much anyway. So just under limit. 9 million. Is 9 million a lot, or is it? It's not that much. Of course, it's a very fragile 9 million. But it's a 9 million that can... Okay, that's not very far, but it's further than any of the other ships. So, I guess it'll have to do. Give him a torpedo cruiser as well. Which I guess is a ship that can mount a lot of torpedoes. 4 funnel capacity. This is like all very, very terrible. At least it can fit a lot of these. How many? How silly can we get with the funnel spam? That is way silly. $8,000-kilometer range though, but we got all the deck space taken up by funnels. This is still not pretty. These are 49 tons each. That's a bit heavy. Yeah, that's terrible. 29% funnel cap. Even increasing the range to 3/4 is bad. Let's keep this minimal. Let's see if we can keep the cost under 5 million. I'm curious how many torpedoes you can actually mount on this supposed torpedo cruiser. A pair of 6-inch guns. And I guess It treats 4-inch guns also as primaries. It can actually mount quite a few torpedoes. Yeah, the Citadel didn't actually weigh much. "15-inch torpedoes. But increased ammo, because these underwater tubes, their reload is not terrible. It's not as with like late game quintuple 24-inch torpedo tubes where you maybe have time to reload once before the battle is over. These are going to reload multiple times and do multiple launches. If the ship doesn't sink, that is. So let's try and put some armor on it. I might have to reduce that range again. Oh no, these orange guns are not happy. Because I slimmed down the ship. Okay, we can manage without those two guns. Hopefully. I can probably manage without the Citadel as well, even if it doesn't weigh much. Can we do 4 on the main belt? Yes, actually. Well, the conning tower didn't want any armor, so I'm not gonna force it. Yeah, I guess that kind of works. Terrible engine efficiency and other terrible things aside. And put that back on. Gonna have to stick with cramped quarters. Rainbow. Oh, didn't mean to delete your name there, Rainbow. There we go. Do we do a quick torpedo bullet as well? It's like, you don't really have that much to do here. Only have one hull. Max optimal speed is 25 knots. Is that even possible? We're already overweight. I see the beam has been maxed out. That's better. Oh yeah, gonna have a tower here somewhere as well. Let's pick the tiniest one. Tiny tower. And the tiniest main gun. And we're already overweight. $275. And slightly slower. I'm gonna have reduced and light shells at least, because the gun doesn't matter. What matters are the torpedoes. And I'm just gonna do them all in one line. You could also do like 2 on each side, so you do 2 launches, turn around, and 2 more. But it gets so finicky with the launch angles and the torpedo tubes getting stuck. So I'm done trying to attempt that. I'm just gonna have them all center line, because at least then they're gonna work most of the time. And I do believe we have some displacement to spare. Gonna pump a little bit more range out of these, just so they're not constantly out of fuel. Does impact the cost though, but that's not terrible. Almost 2 million though, per. And my typical naming convention. I guess that works. So, let's not do this now, because this video has gone on for a bit. But next up, we're gonna design some German ships. They don't have that many hulls to pick from. They got 1 battleship hull. They got 2 different cruiser hulls. This one looks funky. 2 light cruiser hulls and 1 torpedo boat hull. So, but that's for next time. Goodbye, and take care.